Alright guys, before we go ahead and go on to different parts of Chechnya and Dagestan, I decided to make a vlog or make this video about why I'm even here in Chechnya and what makes me, me. I have like my dad is in the back of my mind, letting me know and reminding me, you're gonna set an example. You can set an example. You can become something where people are gonna follow you. So, at some point, make sure you do take the time to talk to you all, just in case, all this blows up. And, that kind of rung in my ear. My dad isn't so much about talking. He's more about, doing more than talking and only talking when it's necessary. Dad, I hope, this is the time that is correct to speak, only because I am here in Chechnya. Yeah, I don't know if these videos are gonna blow up or not. That's my goal. I do want it to get to that point. My goal is to become a public figure, and I do understand that coming to Chechnya, coming to Dagestan, just coming into Russia itself is something risky because Russia and Ukraine and other republics around it are at war, and I don't want to have a flux of people start coming into these areas and thinking that it's a walk in the park. It's not a walk in the park, and that's why I'm gonna go ahead and take this time to make this video to kind of show you what makes me me, what makes me, I guess, this free spirit or this loose cannon or however you want to call it, to go ahead and take these kind of risks. Guys, I want you to understand that yes, I am, risking my life. I am risking a lot of things because I am Colombian and I am American. And although the Colombian part, a lot of people embrace it easily throughout the world, the American part, being from the United States isn't embraced as easily, especially, being in Russia and Chechnya and whatnot, because of what the United States stands for. For many people, the United States, me saying that I'm from the United States, may be something great because we're known for coming in and trying to save. But on the negative aspect, the United States is also known for coming in and not being the savior, actually being the bad guy, being the bully. So when I was in Venezuela, that happened to me. Although I showed my Colombian passport, it still says I was born in the U.S. So they're always gonna know that I am from America, that I am from the U.S. So of course, my goal at the end of the day is to be able to reach as many people as possible, to kind of go ahead and send these messages that help humanity progress. And I also hope that through me doing these videos, it does, bring an opportunity to Chechnya and Dagestan and Russia, to have a flux of tourists come and visit. Just that I don't know if I want to be an example of coming to visit these areas during the war. So I want to set that clear. I want to let you guys know, yes, these places are beautiful. I mean, Russia's gorgeous. These republics are gorgeous. I'm sure that where I'm gonna go to next in Chechnya is gonna be beautiful, and people are gonna be welcoming and loving. Places in Dagestan, in Ingustia, I think that's the way you say it. And all these republics, they have something to offer, and there's going to be beautiful people and beautiful nature and just a beautiful experience. And I do hope that in the long run, these videos do bring a lot of tourism to these areas, because I know that they would be very happy to have you guys. The way they've accepted me, the way they've accepted me, the way they've been kind and sweet and helpful, hospitable, and just been doing everything possible to make sure that my stay is comfortable and I don't feel unsafe. I don't feel like I'm in danger. But I do realize, and they do realize as well, that right now I'm touring in a time of war. I'm visiting in a time of war. So I want to let you guys know what makes me me, to let you know what allows me to take these certain risks. That way you understand too that this isn't for everyone. What puts me in the position to be able to do this, and kind of makes me feel comfortable. I feel comfortable being in these areas. I feel okay being in these areas because the way I know I am, I trust myself. I know my dad wanted to come with me. He wanted to make sure that I was safe, and that's beautiful to me, right? It's beautiful to me that a father would risk his life, not knowing what we're getting into, not knowing anything, that he would go ahead and risk his life as well to protect me in these areas of Russia and Republic of Czechia, Republic of Dagestan during these times of war, because I am American. And so I did that. I thought that was beautiful, but that in itself, I understood that wasn't for him. I understood that my father should stay with my mother. My father should keep being the head of the household, of the family, to keep being, that protector, that guide, and everything that means, for him to be in that position for our family. And I don't just mean my mother and my sisters, I mean all of his family. He's kind of the head, he's the one that's helping, his parents out, helping his siblings out, helping just everybody out. That's what he's known for. And I know that I have that in me as well. But because I understand that his position, I wasn't going to go ahead and allow him to come to these areas and risk himself, because if something were to happen to me, something were to happen because of the fact that I'm crossing these borders as a Colombian and as an American, I wouldn't be able to live with myself, one. And two, I know that this challenge and this purpose and everything else is set for me. And I trust myself with the experiences that I have. My first country that I went to when I was 20 years old was Bosnia, right? Which that was back in 2010. So about a couple of years after, the Bosnian War. And I was comfortable there, So, I've been in countries where I've had to, risk myself, risk my life. And it went well. Obviously, I'm alive. Did it go perfect? No. Were there moments of danger? Yes. Were there moments that in these situations, which one day we could probably get into that, were there moments that in these situations something could have happened to me? Yes. Was I faced with getting arrested? Yes. Was I surrounded by people that had rifles? Yes. Have I been, have people taken out a gun on me? Yes. That takes me to, now my story of what makes me exactly me and why do I do this to myself. Not exactly like that, but yes, why do I do this? And I think it's important to let you guys know, but just to set the bar straight, please understand that this is not a walk in the park. This is not for everyone. And understand that this is for me to bring a positive factor, a light into these areas of the world that, that have earned to have, how would I say, that have earned to have the right perspective of them. I think every country has the right to have the right perspective of those that are outside, those that are foreign to their land, because every land has something beautiful. The people in itself are beautiful, and they're just trying to live. They're regular human beings, just wanting to have a family, wanting to succeed, wanting to provide, wanting to protect, wanting to love, wanting to enjoy. So a lot of people that I met around the world, so many people have a bad misconception of just leaving their country because they think everyone's bad, and that's not true. To me, I have learned that the majority of people that I've come across have been good, or have had the right intentions. I'm not saying that everybody's good, guys. No way. No, 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 no. You know, I believe in, you know, in the three aspects, you know, in the three, for me, you know, I do believe that there is good, that there is bad, and that there is neutrality. But I also know that although that spectrum of good, neutral, and bad, I know that that in itself is kind of a consequence of something that, you know, some people just you know, do it because that's what they're raised in. It's very subjective. You know, good could be bad, bad could be good, but neutrality kind of, you know, tends to be consistent. But then you have those that choose, that go beyond that, that go further from that spectrum, and they have chosen to be holy, right? And they believe in good, and they want to do good, and they know what is good, and then, you know, and they wish to help people progress, and they help, and they wish to bring light into everyone, and just bring relief and love and just pure things to everyone. And then you have the other side of the spectrum where people are evil, right? Meaning that their intention and everything that they are is to hurt people, is to destroy people, is to be against people, to be against anything that doesn't go with what they are, and they're willing to kill you for it. And those are, you know, way more. These are extremities, unfortunately, there is no limit to these spectrums. But I understand that spectrum very well. So that's something that, you know, I also keep in mind, right? I understand that that we also mimic atoms, right? We are protons, electrons, and neutrons. But I also believe that we have to know how to use these protons, electrons, and neutrons. You see, protons, electrons, and neutrons, you don't have to give it a subjective, you know, morale to it, right? It doesn't have to be good nor bad. It could just be it. And if you were to give it, you know, a morale to it, a good or bad to it, it would be something that you just didn't use properly. If you don't use a proton correctly, a neutron correctly, an electron correctly, it could be bad for you, right? How could something positive become bad, and how could something negative become good, right? So these are my beliefs. It's all about how you use each tool, and it could favor the situation. And so I understand that there is also things that are circumstantial, you know, that I understand the moment is, you know, circumstantial, and you have to choose what helps progress as best as possible. So I understand these situations. I understand these form of mentalities, of emotion and spirit, of physicality, of how people use their bodies to get to a certain goal. I understand that life is extremely subjective. There's so much that goes through my mind due to experience, due to studying, due to talking to so many people. You know, understand that I've spoken to more than 15,000 people, you know, and not just, you know, just about small things. I think you guys already know I'm kind of a deep person in a lot of sense. So I have experiences that have led me to extremities. For instance, you know, my first major accident, I went under an 18-wheeler truck, right? That first major accident changed my life. I was 20 years old. That was 3 months before I went to Bosnia. I was 20 years old. I went under an 18-wheeler truck. It was a freak accident. And technically I had, you know, 4 automobile accidents and one certain instance that happened in Colombia. But just understand these are all freak accidents. It's not something I chose. I feel like this is something that, you know, God chose for me, or God allowed me to go through, because it made me who I am today. I'm still alive, fortunately. So my first accident, I went under an 18-wheeler truck when I was 20. That was insane to me. In that situation, and in those certain weeks, how would I say, in a span of 2 weeks, I went under an 18-wheeler truck. One, my grandfather was passing from Guillain-Barré syndrome. So that was another thing that was heavy in my heart. Well, going back to the fact that I went on an 18-wheeler truck, understand that that just changed me completely, because going under an 18-wheeler truck isn't a walking part me either. Going under an 18-wheeler truck, after that, I felt like it was my second life. I had another chance to live. The car was crushed, and I walked out with just a piece of glass in my eye. And I was fortunate, and I thank the God that I was still able to be alive to see my mother. And I went back to the house, and my mother just hugged me and cried. And that was December 23, 2009. That was the day that, right before Christmas Eve, I was supposed to go see, my family in my uncle's house, and instead I had the accident, and I ended up just going home. And I saw my mom there, and she didn't even see the car. She felt it, and she just hugged me and cried, and she was just so happy to be able to see me again and make sure that I was fine. So that situation is how there's more to it, but we're not gonna get to it. But that was my first major accident. That just wow, it opened me up, and I was just so happy to be alive, to be able to see every little grain, of life, and I was able to just taste again and see again and hear and feel and know that this body was temporary, and luckily, this organic body that could easily be destroyed didn't. So that was my first major accident. In that 2-week span that happened, my grandfather's passing away. As a wrestler, growing up in wrestling, one of our teammates at that time disappeared, right? And anybody that has been in the military, or has done any martial art, or has done any competitive sport and has a team, understand that it's a form of brotherhood, right? Even if you don't like the guy. So one of the guys in the team, I didn't get along with him. I'll be honest, I didn't get along with him, but I loved him. He was part of our team. He was still a brother. We just clashed a lot. Cheered for him. I still, was with him, and we still hung out together, and we still spent time together. And, everybody, in the team, and we just, did what guys do and just mess around. And out of nowhere, right after my first major accident, within that 2-week span, he just disappeared. He was in Miami Beach. He was with our friends, and he was with his best friend Hector, and his name is Rafael. We called him Rafa, and he just up and disappeared. And there's a couple of theories that possibly he was kidnapped, or he just got up and left, but he still hasn't come up until this day. And then something weird happened where a lot of my friends' parents were going into surgeries, open heart surgeries, and just that time everything just started just mounting up, piling up. I had this second chance of life, but yet all these things are happening, and it's just like, I'm in a mentality, or in a stage, or a spiritual stage, where I'm just so happy to be alive, and there's nothing that could get in the way, and I'm just happy, so appreciative, and these things are just breaking my heart, I was also working in I'm not gonna say where, but I was working in a hood in South Florida as an assistant manager, helping manage the warehouse, and also helping fix and build trucks and cars and all this mechanical work. So you could see how how heart-wrenching my heart starts to become. And I was raised Catholic. I'm not Catholic anymore, unfortunately. And one day we can talk about my spirituality. But yes, I do strongly believe in God. And I'm a little bit weird because I actually believe in everything. And that's why I could get along with so many religions and so many people and so many things. But to me, it's just a matter of, where God is present, where that is, where the accuracy of where God is, because we understand that, there's so many human factors that make up religion. Sometimes it's difficult to see where God is present. But that's for another day. But yes, I do strongly believe in God. I have died and came back twice, and I know through my own personal experience and through my personal journey, I know that God exists for me. That's for another subject, guys. But yeah, understanding that in that situation that I was in, I was just going through this heart wrenching, gut wrenching, painful situation in the span of 2 weeks that I needed to talk to somebody. And back then, yes, I was part of the Catholic religion, and I just went to church one day and I talked to a priest, and I'm so happy I did speak to him because he left me with something extremely beautiful and extremely important. I went up to him and I explained to him everything that was going on. There was more things going on too personally, but those were the major things that I remember. And I asked him, look, how do I deal with all this? How do I deal with all these things I don't know? I mean, I'm 20 years old. I don't know how to handle all these things. Although things have happened before that, it was just I think going under 18-wheeler truck and having the mixture and the situation that I was in, kind of made it difficult for me to process so many things at once. And I asked him, how do I process it? How do I deal with it? And he just left me with these most important words, which kind of take me to what I'm doing today. And he said, hey, just remember one thing. Tragedies are used for grace. So focus on the grace. And I didn't understand exactly what he meant by that at first. Why are tragedies used for grace? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. As I focused on the grace, during these times, I knew that what he was trying to portray, trying to convey, he didn't have much time, but as what he was trying to convey and portray, I just went ahead and I applied it, and I kind of more or less started to understand that what he was trying to say was, all these tragedies that we can't control, they're part of life. They happen. But all you can do is focus on the beautiful things that happen. So I started to do that. I started to just focus on the grace, focus on the light, focus on the beauty, focus on the good things that were coming out of it. As bad as it was, and as heart-wrenching as it was, and as tragic as it was in life, in whatever situation, I had to focus on the grace, because tragedies can just bring you down to the bottom of the ocean, right? So I did everything possible to focus on the grace, focus on the light of things, and it worked. All of my heart hurts, all of my soul hurts, my body hurts, everything hurts. I was focusing on the good things that are coming out of it. For example, I went to a hospital one day. During that time, I went to a hospital to support my friends during their parents' open heart surgery, and I started to just focus on the grace. I started to focus on the good things and the light of the situation. And although people are crying, and although people are hurt, people are scared, and people don't know what's going to happen, I started noticing that, hey, everybody's coming together. Hey, everybody's hugging each other. Everybody's finding support, love, purities. There's an energy of peace, and this situation brought everybody together. Although we never found out, we were able to come together as friends, as family. The brotherhood was stronger than ever, and up until this day, we are all in contact. My situation, going under an 18-wheeler truck, brought me closer to myself, brought me closer to nature, brought me closer to the people, brought me closer to this world, because I fell in love with just the whole human experience. Brought me closer to my mom, brought me closer to my stepdad, which, when I say dad, that's my stepdad. Just brought me closer to everybody, just more love, more grace, more peace, more of everything. And so I think that marked a huge point in my life. When I was 20 years old, it marked a huge point in my life. And from there on forward, things changed for me. Things weren't the same. Before that, we could go ahead and talk about that before I keep going forward to all the other accidents and the near-death experiences and this wild side of me that just, woke. But how would I say, where can we start? I know this is going to be a longer vlog, and I apologize, but I think it's important. Right in the border of New Jersey and New York, I was born there, and I was raised down in Miami. My parents are from Colombia in South America, from Bogota. My stepdad's from Bogota, my mom is from Bogota, and my biological father is from Medellin. So they migrated, from Colombia to New York, New Jersey. They lived there for some time. I was born, and then they figured, hey, Fernando needs some summer sports, and then it was just better to be under the sun more than under the clouds. And if anybody that lives in the north anywhere, as you can see, being here in Russia, in Chechnya, the sun doesn't really come out too much. So my parents were wanting to give me a life where I could be around the sun more and I could have summer sports. And that's where I got into soccer. Being soccer fans, I got into soccer.